recording, and I'll do my intro. Welcome to the dark side. This is your host, Ultra Magnus, and I'm blessed with my counterpart for today's podcast is going to be with Halifax, the coach and GM of the Saskatchewan Samsquanches. Good morning, Hallie.
Hey, good morning. Are you blessed?
I am blessed. This morning. On top of the morning to you. It's a beautiful
Good
day.
morning to you.
Yeah, it's. I almost feel like saying.
We're doing this very, very early in the morning. It is 6:30 my time, but it's a good time for me because the kids aren't up yet. So I figure I might have some uninterrupted time to do this.
There you go. But that I was about to kick into the thing once you said good morning. I was like, good morning, good morning. I spent the whole night through. Good morning to you. If anybody knows what that is, singing in the rain. So basically, the thing we're gonna do is just introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about you and why you decided to come to the dark side at all.
Oh, geez, that's a loaded question.
Well, leave that one for the load.
Myself.
You're not gonna out yourself. You're more of a Super Nintendo guy, so you're kind of impartial.
Well, just a brief history. But I think most people already know, my history. But I used to live in Nova Scotia, where there's a city there called Halifax. And now I live in the west part of the country, which is the prairies in Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan. And moved here because my wife, she's from here. So I've been here for about 12 years. It is 10 times colder here. But and I used to work in film and television. That was the first thing I did out of school. For about 10 years, I worked with Trailer Park Boys for a while, which is why I like that my client picked his team, and he was a big fan. So hopefully someday I'll get to meet him in person and tell him a bunch of stories from my time there that he might find interesting. But and then now I work in banking. I switched over to banking, did my degree. I worked towards my degree. I never finished it. Online in commerce. It was kind of funny because one of my bosses said you need your commerce degree to get this job to be a commercial sales rep, and call them relationship managers. But and then I ended up getting the job with that, and I was like, do I do the last 8 or 10 courses and spend all that money? I just said nah.
Well, the funny thing is, you say what was the something manager?
They call it a relationship manager. Yeah.
It's almost like what we were talking about with guys. We had a conversation with Waves Gaming, and the guy says his name's Arena Manager, which we're like, arena, like you're.
Oh, yeah.
So we would have to get more into detail. What arena? You're playing video games. If you're thinking it like metaphorically speaking, I guess, but regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, I worked in sales on the personal banking side and commercial banking side for 11 or 12 years, and now I moved over into an analyst role, which is the other side of the banking. So now I write deals, and so
you write deals about
money,
anals.
then I put the deal together, and so that the bank is happy with the risk, and then they give you the money. And so anyways, it's like basically I deal in the $1 million to $10 million lending space. So anyways, that's all the boring stuff.
I'm gonna have to come to your bank then.
Yeah.
And when you said analyst, anytime somebody says analyst, I always say analyst, because they basically fuck you.
Analyst is easier for me to say. Technically, my title is portfolio manager, so I support. I support essentially 2 sales reps. So they go out and find the business, bring the deals back to me, give me all information, and we talk about how we're going to structure it, and then put it together.
So the funny thing is that you kind of remind me now with the way I think about it. Is anybody's ever seen the movie Owning Mahoney with Philip Seymour Hoffman? He's a bank analyst back in the 80s out of Toronto, and he basically was laundering money through a woman who had like a $10 million line of credit, and he would take the money and go and gamble. So when you started saying that, I was just like, oh, well,
Uh,
so that's kind of like how I
won't,
correlate to it.
I won't get into that on here, but I can tell you quite a few fraud stories that
I'm
have
not gonna
happened to
I'm
people
not
over
gonna
the
get into
years.
it. It's a non-disclosure.
It's you see it happen all the time. Unfortunately, people get frauded, and it's a sad state of what they how they got frauded. And you're just like, how did you allow that to happen to yourself? But it happens. So
Ridiculous.
yep.
And so,
So
what brought you over to the 95 side?
you
Just
did you.
Okay.
You and Segathon, I mean, it was like when I saw the league and all the stats and what you come up with. I mean, it is incredible what you've put together. I mean, there's not, like, people that are listening to this on the 95 side, I keep saying you guys are spoiled. You have no idea what the level of Magnus puts into this. I mean, in some ways, the 94 side, it's kind of automated now because we have that NHL94online.com website where I think it's mostly Chaos and sometimes AJ uploads the new leagues, but the in-depth level of stats is not comparable. I mean, yes, there is a lot of individual stats and like that, but I think you go far, you go a bit beyond of what is done on that site, and it's mind-blowing to me, especially with all and then the comfort or the cool thing of allowing us to pick our own teams and doing this, sort of, I mean, it's kind of like a dynasty league, essentially. I mean, I did sort of a dynasty league in 94, and I only ran about 3 or 4 years, and not even to the level of this, even close. So the fact that, we're in season 5 now is just, yeah, I mean,
And we're
what you've
picking
done
up
is
steam.
awesome.
And we're picking up
And that's
steam.
well, yeah, you pick up steam every year. I mean, you look at when it started, we started with 24.
22 after
30.
the season was done.
22, okay. Well, I mean, that always happens. But so now we're up to 30. I think we're up to 34 now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, that was it. And I mean, and I've known Segathon for quite a long time. We've never met in person, but we've chatted several times, and I always thought he's a super cool dude. So I wanted to play in a league that he was into. So.
Well, the big thing is that you've mentioned it to me as well. One of the main, like you say, jokingly aside as well, is that you said the main reason why you stick around for 95 is the box scores. So
I love the box scores. That's my favorite thing to look at. And now that you've got the times in there, because they didn't have that last year, the goal times. And so I always go and sometimes I'll look in and I'll just see if somebody, I'll look at the scores. I'll see when the games were, what time they were scored at. If somebody put together a streak and had a comeback. I love looking at that stuff. So I don't really look at much of anything else, just the box scores. But,
well, the good thing is that I like Tickness and myself, we're working on it together, and God bless his heart, because as much as that sometimes he's a bit brash, and you'd probably be able to speak a little bit more to him. He's very, what would I say? I wouldn't say he's anything close to unique, because even the way he approaches messages to you, you're just like, is this a cryptic direct message, or is this actually directly stating this?
Sometimes you just gotta ask Tick straight up what he means. He's funny. Like, he's actually really fun. He's a really funny guy, but if you didn't know him, you might not get that right off the bat. But he's got some pretty witty little clips. I know this because he's been on the 94 side, and so he makes me laugh a lot. When every once in a while, you'll just see a comment from him, and it's pretty funny. But if you didn't know him, then you might think, oh, what, is he being a jerk here? He's not. He's one of the super coolest guys, and I mean, what he does with the stats is just, I mean, he did that for 94. I guess that's another thing I do look at. I always check the standings the next morning, and then I say, oh, cool, am I at the bottom this week? Yeah, okay.
Well, put it this way, the best way to sum up Tickness would be slapstick.
Yeah, I like looking at his daily comments or his daily standings. That's kind of cool feature too.
Yeah, definitely.
So
And the great thing is, like I said too, is that like King Rap, I bless his heart because he really helped get the stuff a little bit more automated in the league for the first couple seasons. But Tickness took it to a new level where now I'm using Python code that he scripted for us, and basically like it just spits out one Excel spreadsheet, and I could put. I think I did season 4. I put all the save states into one folder, ran the report, and it took 6 seconds. But it ran 900 games of data and spit it out. So,
there you go.
and then basically my time-consuming part of my morning now, literally, I spend more time starting up Anaconda, which is the program that runs Juniper Lab, which runs Python. Don't need to know the names. It's basically the time it takes for it to start up and for me to start it and then type in the stuff takes longer than the code runs to spit out 900 games. So that alone shows you, and it takes only like 6 seconds for it to like run. And then the box scores right now have become the more time-consuming part, but I actually enjoy that.
Well, look at that. Your job is so much easier now.
Well, now it's getting a little bit more complex because G-Lock and I are starting a new thing called Selly Saturday. So we're going to be releasing an iconic celebration goal scorer by an NHL player that's happened in the past few years.
So what you're telling me is that next year it's going to be a $200 registration fee to sign up for the league?
No. Nothing like that. This league will never cost anything. I know you would never. No, I can't do that. It's for me to charge something that I enjoy doing is like once you've mentioned it to me even too. Once you start putting money involved in stuff, stuff gets very sticky and complicated. So
it is very complicated.
I'm gonna leave our 95 baby to be pure.
Well, you know what, and I mean Evan, who runs the NHL 94 website and all that, who started it, whatever, back in 05. People offered to give him money, and he said no, I don't want any donations because he didn't want any affiliation of taking money. Just being known for a website for taking money on a video game that was connected to EA. And I'm just, like, honestly, EA, we're so far down on their charts that they don't care at all. But he just always made it a point of not doing that. So I always kind of thought, you know what, that's kind of a good rule. Let's just kind of stay away from that kind of stuff. Not ask for donations for the site or for donations for the league. If people want to do their own side thing, not connected to it, then we just say go ahead and do it. But so that's kind of always how I felt about it, and I thought that was kind of a good rule, just to make the site free, have the leagues for free, don't charge any money. If guys want to do their own side things and play for money or whatever, then let them do that. So so I think that's a good approach of what you're doing too. So
So and just another side thing as well is that there's another guy on Discord who's releasing a sim hockey league of NHL 95. So basically, it's all custom. Basically, you create your own players, but the thing is, you don't play. It's just a sim league, so it's kind of like fantasy football, I would say, in a sense. But he's got a couple spots left. If anybody wants to just DM me, and I'll let you know. You know about it. I think that guy had it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Okay, now I know you're talking about it. I'm in that one. It's on Facebook though. Did you say Discord?
Yeah, he's on Discord. That's how him and I talk together.
Oh, I gotcha. Gotcha. I thought he was running it through Discord. Okay, now I understand.
No. Yep. He's just contacting. He has the channel set up in Discord for people if they want to be able. He's going to run it through there eventually.
Yeah, I went heavy on one line and gave them all high stats, and then
I balanced out my team because he did the exact same thing, and he says I'm going to get hurt because once there's injuries or penalties, all these backups are going to come in. That are 25 overall.
I'm taking the risk.
Yeah, whatever. So, based on that, we'll start the questionings. What is your favorite?
We haven't started questions yet?
No, we haven't. We haven't even got to rapid fire.
Oh gosh, jeez.
Yeah,
that's some questions.
All right. Okay, so, Jesus, what the fuck have I been doing all morning? Come on, get going. Who's your daddy? What does he do? He sits around and doesn't ask questions. So basically, what is your best 95 story?
You know what? My best and my worst all happened in the same series, and I bet you can know which one it is.
I would
Take
say
a guess.
Segathon.
No, Autobahn.
Oh.
Don't you remember? So.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
start with the worst. Let's start with the
nitty gritty.
I was up 3-0 in the series, and I lost 4 straight. I mean.
That was season 3, I think, eh?
I still, when it got to Game 7, I'm like, it's over. I'm doing my best here, but he's already got me figured out, and I can't counter what he's doing. And so that's how I lost. I knew Autobahn's a much better player than me, and it just took him 3 games and a bit of bad luck to finally turn the corner. So, and then once he figured me out, and then he wasn't having any bad luck, then it kind of started to steamroll. So that was like the worst moment of losing. Nobody wants to lose when they're down up 3-0 and lose 4 straight. And a lot of those games are all 1-goal games too, I think. So
yeah, we're gonna start calling you 1-goal Hallie.
Yeah. But the best moment was the 5 OT winner. I've never played a game that went that long. It was almost 6 overtimes. It was like 30 seconds away from being a 6th overtime, and I beat him 2-1 or 3-2. I don't remember the score was, but that was like the highlight because he had so many chances in overtime, and McLean, when you shoot the puck and the goalie saves it, but then it just kind of squeaks through, and you think it's going to go through, and it doesn't. That happened a few times that series in overtime. And I was just like, okay, McLean, just keep me in it.
But the funny thing is that I had this conversation yesterday with Nate. And he told me that he's just like, well, what are the attributes of a goalie that keep things going? And it's puck control. Is when you see that puck go between his legs and it doesn't go through, that's puck control.
Okay.
So if your goalie's Swiss cheese and gives up like multiple ones, like as if you're playing mini putt against them and you're trying to put it between the windmill and it's going through every single time, is because he has bad puck control.
So it sounds like you've given us all a tip here. Take a look at the other guy's goalie stats and see what their puck control is like. And if it's low, then
shoot away.
Bring on the down B. Down B all day.
Well, I said this to.
I love the down B. I don't have as much success with it this year.
I love playing Segathon now because his center ice has the dirty down B. And the bad thing is if he does a down B to you while he's going down with his at home, there should be like a song playing on. Like if he had if he was twitching it, it should just have a song come out. The dirty down B just been beat, or something like that. I don't know. Segathon would probably be able to come up with a funny thing and then giggle like a schoolgirl right after it.
Yeah. When I had Fedorov scored a ton of goals for me last year on down B. This year, nowhere near as many. I mean, in 18 games, I think. I don't know why I keep doing it, because it's such a low percentage play. I'm not anywhere near as good as Segathon with it. I mean, you have to have that perfect angle at the line. Once you hit the line.
What? He scored on me from center ice with Fedorov.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But you know what? I kind of like the changes that I made because it's much more balanced now. Now I've got 5 forwards all the same rating, and I switch them out every game depending on a few things, depending on what I want to go for. But it's I like it actually much better because basically I had Fedorov, and then like Oates was second, and then I had nobody, and it was. So as soon as one of them went in the penalty box, it was brutal because then whoever was coming out. So here's something that I actually thought was interesting when I was playing Tickle yesterday. It's the same thing in 94. So when you get a penalty, the 94 guys, the first thing they do, pause, because they want to change it to make sure that the center and the left wing are the guys that they want to go out. So, and if you didn't know that, it's the same in 95, I'm sure. So if your center or left wing gets a penalty, what the computer does is it just takes the next player. So it could be your second liner and not necessarily your third best forward. And so, but the thing with 95 is that when you get a penalty, it's hard to call it. You have very little time to call a timeout before the guy goes to the penalty box. Once he gets in the penalty box, if you wait till after that to make the change, then you're waiting till the next whistle. But Tickle did it. He did it on me yesterday, and he did it so fast and got his guy in because he knew to get his best two players out there. And I was like, that was the first time I'd seen that league play, because I actually tried to pause, and I just I said, it's probably not really worth my time trying to bother change. So I just don't even bother anymore now that I have the 5 forwards. I know that a good guy's going out. But he did that yesterday, and I thought that was pretty neat that he pulled that off so quickly.
So the funny thing is that you mentioned that me and Nate had 2 games the other night. I don't think it was last night. It might have been the night before. We had the exact same scenario, but me and him are so quick on it as well, is that we glitched the game twice.
Yeah, ours didn't glitch, which was good. It was the first time I had seen anyone do it in a game that I played.
Oh,
and
okay, fair enough.
I thought, I was like, oh, this is awesome. That's cool that he did this, because I always knew that you could that you can do it. I just never bothered to do it afterwards. So.
Well, you're lucky now that you got that balance throughout your roster where you don't have to really rely on a line change.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been more beneficial for me in previous years, especially when Fedorov goes in the box, because I think it was Naslin was always coming out, and I forget who my third forward was. Maybe it was Kovalenko.
No, you have Kovalenko and Stillman.
So it would have been better to have Kovalenko and Oates out there as my penalty killers, but it never worked out that way, and I just never bothered to fix it, and or never bothered to change. I was like, I'm not gonna start doing that, so just to slow the game down a little bit more. But anyways.
Yeah. So leading into that, so you saw something different. What are some things that you're seeing in season 5 that have become basically evolved into the game that we didn't see really in season 1 through 4? Because is this your
trendy question that I've been hearing?
Yeah, this is my trendy question.
This is the trendy question.
This is the trendy. I'm curious to see what everybody's kind of point of view, because it's all personal on it. And season 1 through 4, there was a lot of different styles that have come in, and then now things have kind of evolved into a way where if somebody comes out with something new, it's being talked about.
Well, season 1 was our test year, and it was. That was the year that everybody got to see how everybody else played, and I'm sure that they all learned a ton, because guys were doing moves that other guys had just never seen before, and now they're trying to incorporate, honestly, the first 2 seasons, I think I was averaging about a goal and a half a game. I just did not know how to score. Now I know how to score, I just can't execute.
Down B, down B, down B, down B.
So, and I mean, when I played Tickle the other day, he, of all the guys that I play against, he has that a move around the net, and he passes it out so fast. I just can't do anything about it, and I've tried to do it, and he knows exactly when his winger is going to be in the corner to get that pass out front, and it's like, how does he know? I've tried to do it where you do the dump in. I've tried different dump ins to make sure that my winger's on the other side when it goes around behind the net to pass it out front, and the guy is either never there or he's too late or whatever, and I'm just like, so he clearly knows something about his players and the timing of it that makes it so effective, because once he does that play, it's so fast, and unless you know it's coming when he dumps it in, because I don't always know that it's coming, because sometimes you can stop it with your defenseman, but he pulled it off a couple times to me yesterday. I was just like, it's such a fast move.
There's so many goals in the league where you know the guy's going to do something, and the thing is you're helpless to stop it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with your slap shots. I remember last year you scored 9 on me, and I knew it was coming every time, and I was just like, I tried to get my defenseman, I couldn't stop it. I tried activating my goalie early, couldn't stop it. And it was just like, this is frustrating.
I think if you think about the purest types of goals in the game, like the one-timer, obviously everybody does it. The cross crease, the cross crease is like iffy for me, because a lot of people tend to use it, and it's the goalie's awareness of or agility to be able to move over fast enough to stop it. But it's if you time a cross crease perfectly, you're going to score 90% of the time. But when you look at all the other types of goals, like the I call it the puss dump now, or the tickle puss speed lap, or the bobsled if you want to call it, because it takes that board and just fucking flies all the way around. And he pops that in more than anything. Then there's the wraparound where you pin the goalie. There's just a lot of ones, but when you start seeing the slap shot becoming more effective, people are like, I can't stop it. Even manual goaltenders cannot stop it sometimes. Like when I use Solani and I go along the boards to the left and try to crank it, people are like, I scored one on you yesterday where I went short side.
Yes, I remember that.
And people are like, fuck, even if I manual goalie, I can't stop it because you don't know where it's going. Because the puck can go far left, it can go far right, go short, it can go high. That's the great thing is about the slap shots. You just never know. At one timer, you could see it go. It's going to go in the net or it's going over the net. Whereas,
so here's a question for you. Do you think that any move should be banned?
No. I personally think the only thing that should be frowned upon, in my honest opinion, is if the score is already out of reach. So if you're up, say, 3 or 4-0 in the third period, or the guy is obviously not executing anything against you, and you're the team that's scoring the goals, and you try a down B, I would say. Something like where it's like, if it goes in, there's no need for you to score an extra goal in an unsportsmanlike way.
See, I disagree with you.
You do?
100%. And here's why. I'll explain why.
Okay.
You've created a league based on stats. You've created a league based on
You're going that way. Going that way.
Getting points. That's what I'm telling you. That's what some of these guys are here for. They're here to load up their. I don't care. To me, I could care less who on my team scores. I don't care who has points. Normally, I don't score a lot of goals anyways. But individual, that's not really interesting to me. But there are guys that play in this league that are 100% interested in that, and they want to pump up their players. And you've allowed a league which is awesome, by the way. So, in my opinion, I say score away. Score as many goals as you possibly can. I don't care if it's down B that you score on me, or if you beat me 6-0, try and beat me 12-0. So
okay.
I'm the opposite of that. But like if you had a league where it was just based on wins and losses, then I would agree with you. I would say, you know what, I mean, just for wrecking a guy because he's terrible. And just so you can get a couple more goals to feel better about yourself, which has no bearing on anything, really, other than maybe a plus-minus, I suppose. But I would be in your corner then. But when it comes to specific stats, it's just score away. And in the tournaments, I tell people, it's like, you know what, this guy's going to keep scoring you as much as he possibly can. So, you cannot stop playing. And the thing is, especially within the tournaments, which we'll talk about later, there is goal differential and there is mercy rules. So you have to keep scoring regardless of what the score is and who you're playing. So
yeah.
Anyways,
so okay.
I on the other side of the fence. What were you saying on that?
Well,
that's that yours is wrong. I'm just saying.
So put it this way.
I have a different opinion.
I get a burning feeling when it happens to me, and I'm perfectly fine getting blown out. Puss has done it to me. Some other guys have put up 5. Einstein shut me out 5-0 the other night. I think there's just when there's certain types of goals, because we were talking about types of goals being scored. I have no problem people lighting the lamp on me and blowing me out. I have no problem with that. I have a problem with somebody doing something that I frown upon. It's maybe because I'm just so not used to people doing it to me. And when somebody does it to me, especially when I know it's coming, I think that just enrages me. And Segathon, if you were across from me and you did that, I would reach across the table and smack you. But the funny thing is that there's some guys in the league that you just feel like if you were in front of me, I'd punch you. I would smack you, punch you, and do something physical to you. But the funny thing is that we're playing a video game, and like probably the one person that I find that when I play them, I don't care if I lose. I really don't. I have such a fun time playing them is LHX. Like me and him have built a rivalry against each other, and not only the fact that we live probably a half hour from each other, it's more for the fact that we've built that me and him have like kind of connected offline, like you and I have, and the same thing with me and the Segathon guys. So there's certain guys where I'm like I'm comfortable playing with, and I don't care if I lose. Like even playing against you is like it's fun because I know that you're probably laughing about something on the other end, or you're like I'm gonna down B him and I don't fucking care. Where Segathon is just like I'm gonna down B you at least 3 or 4 times, and if you could stop them, great, good for you. But I'll still try another 4 more after that.
I like to do little fun things. Like yesterday, Tickle called the timeout, and so I immediately called the timeout after to negate his timeout. We do in the 94 leagues. It's there's one guy who absolutely he loves when people do it, and that's Trefizzle. He loves when people do it. And I used to I used to have a rule where I called timeout after the other guy scored 2 straight goals. I have no idea why, but I used to do that in the 94 league and thought in my mind, okay, this is disrupting his momentum. And because there is a momentum thing in 94, especially there is. And I don't know if actually the timeout has anything to stop it, but I always used to do it. And I don't do it so much anymore, but when he called a timeout on me yesterday, I was like, I'll just call a timeout. Really had no bearing on anything.
So
sometimes little fun things like that.
So the funny thing is that since like I dabble in the 94 Discord quite often, and Chaos, bless his heart, because he's helped me out some of the stuff trying to get the website more automated, but now that I lost the website, it's not going to happen for probably this foreseeable future. But the conversation that has in 94 about momentum, Mr. Tex, or Mr. TX, or whatever you want to call it, reached out to me, and me and him have been going back and forth probably for the last couple of weeks, and he's asking me questions because of that guy from that did Mutant League Hockey that's on Facebook. So like
Hockey.
Yeah, you touched out to me and you said, hey, reach out to this guy, ask him some questions or whatever like that. It was on Facebook.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I remember. Yeah. He was a developer or something like that.
So I've asked him some side questions, and I haven't really got all the answers, but like me and Mr. TX, we've been talking back, and he's been talking about momentum. Oh, how does face-offs win? I know in 94 it's a little bit more obvious because I've actually started doing some testing in 94 to actually see if it works, is that you win a face-off, check the crowd noise. Like, see if the decibels move. So see if momentum changes based on certain actions that happen in the game. And it only really happened... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it was a thing in like 92 or 93, and I feel like it maybe carried over, maybe not as much, but there was certain... And even I think it was either Michael Brook or Mark Lesser said that there is a momentum factor in the game with the decibels. So, in 94, I guess, for sure, but... I assume that it's probably 95 as well, but I don't know.
So there's no indicator.
That's why whenever I find a programmer, I just send them to you.
No, that's good to know, because honestly in 95, people have called timeouts and then I score right after that on them anyways. So I don't think there's really a momentum thing. I think it's just a mental thing. And to be honest, there's been games I've played King Wrath in 94 and I told him show no mercy and he'll beat me 6-4. So, like, there's games where, like, you can play elite people regardless of whatever, like, advantages that they have, or you think that there's advantages. There isn't any. It's all in your own head. And a lot of the times when I lose my games, like, there's been... When I played Ellis at the beginning of the season, I played G-Lock, I played Wolf, and then I played somebody else, Derek Sutton. All those games, I literally said halfway through, I'm going to fucking throw my controller across the room. I don't get enraged playing video games. But with this league, I think I've gotten so immersed into playing it and running it and everything like that. I absolutely love the league. But there's times where I feel like saying, you know what, fuck this, I'm done. Like, how am I losing to somebody I should be beating? But the thing is that all 3 of those players, or 4 of those players, have elevated their games higher, and I'm like, have I evolved enough to justify my point of view now?
Change your expectations of yourself. You'll have a lot more fun.
Well, I've started doing that.
You'll never get disappointed. That's why I play, and I have no...
Set the bar low so you're never disappointed.
Of how I'm going to do it. I just try and play my best, but... Like Gamby played me yesterday. He was up 4-0 after the first, and I was like, okay, I got to start playing better because this could be like 9-0 before the game is over. And he only ended up beating me 5-1. Like, it was pretty even after that. But, it's kind of like my position is just play right to the end. Whether you're winning a lot or losing a lot, play right to the end. Don't slow down or don't give up. Whoever you're playing, because the guys will know, and then it becomes no fun. So,
Yeah, I think there's some funny components about it too, because we're talking about advantages and momentum. In 95, there is actually 6 components. 94 has it as well, that are actually team advantages. So you have home and away ice advantages. You have power play and penalty kill advantages. Then you also have an offensive and defensive advantages. However, when King Raph did the mod of this game,
can I interrupt you
Sure.
for a second? How do those advantages, how do they play into it? That's what I always wonder. Like when they talk about home advantage or away advantage.
So
what is the actual advantage?
So there's actual advantages. So say for an example, like I'll just explain each one of them really quickly. So they're self-explanatory. Home and away advantages, power play and penalty kill, obviously, and offensive and defensive. So basically, whenever these stats were set to be equal across the league, so nobody in the league has an advantage based on those 6 criteria. Everyone was set with the same code. So, but now, with those advantages, if you were playing the original game, say you were playing with everyone saying, oh, Chicago and Detroit in 95 are like the cat's meow. The reason for that is because Chicago has a +3 power play. They have, so if they're on a power play and you have the +3 advantage, your players' ratings increase by 3.
Okay, that was my question. See, I kind of figured that's what it was. So what you're saying is the attributes of the players are impacted by the advantage, essentially.
Correct.
And they go by up or down by a certain numbers, I guess.
Yes. So, like, say for an example, like here's the best way to say it is that say Chicago's playing Detroit, you have Chicago's going on a power play. Roenick is a 90 overall, and I know it's not his rating's not a 90. But I'm using 90 because it's a base number and he's a high overall. And then you have Sergei Fedorov on the other side. So Chicago has a +3 power play advantage. So Chicago, Jeremy Roenick would go to a 93. However,
so that's cool because you don't actually see it.
No, you don't. It's just a part of the game.
You see their overall at the beginning of the game, but then it's not like you could go back in and see it actually physically change. That would be cool.
You actually can.
But that's what you're telling me, right?
I think you actually can if you press your edit lines once the power play starts. You can actually, if you actually remember what their ratings were when they started the game, and you go back in and look afterwards, I think you can actually see the change.
That now.
But
I never looked at that before.
So this is another component that a lot of people need to look at is that if Roenick gets a +3, he's a 93 overall right now. But then Detroit has a +2 penalty kill advantage when they're at home, or when they have a +2 penalty kill. That means Fedorov goes from a 90 to a 92. So not only is the penalty kill player's ability increases, so does the power play. But then you have to take on who's at home and who's away. Okay, Chicago's got a +1 home advantage. So, okay, Roenick might become a 94, but then Detroit's got a +2. That means, okay, so Fedorov is equal now to Roenick. So basically, eventually comes out to where, what advantage do you have? So offensively, Roenick might go up another 1, but Fedorov might go down 2 because Detroit sucks on defense. So he'll have a negative impact defensively if he's on the ice.
Got it.
So those characteristics are all equal across the board in 95 in our league. So there's never going to be a point where somebody's like, oh, he just destroys me on the power play, because his players are better and he might be better than you. But
so I guess my next question is, so what is your favorite ice cream?
My favorite ice cream?
Yeah.
Chocolate mint.
So if I was to get you like 10 liters of chocolate mint, could we somehow sneak in on the playoff ROM just some extra boost for me for my team?
We'll talk offline. We'll talk offline. I don't want to devalue my commentary here.
20 liters.
Okay, we're getting into some nitty gritty here, people. We're gonna have to take this brief pause, and we'll come back in about 5 minutes. No, but it's the kind of thing where
keep moving on.
We keep moving on, but I'll take a screenshot to show everybody where it is in the ROM. So if you want to check to see if I've done it, then you can actually see. Okay, Magnus is telling the truth.
You don't need to show me. I trust you.
Okay. Hey, put it this way. Hey, if I was actually gonna cheat in this game, I would be doing a lot better than I am now.
Yeah.
So gets to our rapid fire questions. I have my list. I created it. I've used it a couple times, but I'm gonna change things going along. But the way I'm going to be doing it is that I'm going to add a few extra ones on the fly. And the first one I'm going to start with is fill in the blank.
Fill in the blank.
Fill in the blank. If Halifax were to be an NHL player, blank, who would he be? Or who would he be blank? Sorry. Holy shit, I need another coffee.
I don't even know if this is a blank question.
Okay, if Halifax was a hockey player, who would he be?
Who would I be? I'm gonna say this. I would have been a Scott Hartnell. Scott Hartnell is a gritty guy who falls down on the ice all the time, stands in front of the net. That was the type of player I was when I grew up. I couldn't skate very well. But I was like the Happy Gilmore. I would go in the corners and take my beatings or take my lumps in front of the net. I didn't mind guys cross-checking me or anything like that. If anything I could do to screen a goalie or try and... It's kind of funny. I was a lot bigger compared to most kids when I was younger, and then I kind of stopped growing at like grade 8 or grade 9. So, so early on, the coaches, I'd just say, you know, I'm happy to be in front of that. I will try and tip and get rebounds. So I think that's the kind of player Scott Hartnell was.
So
that's me.
Okay, if I had to give him any kind of comparable from myself, I would say I'm Milan Lucic.
Okay.
And the only reason for that, I'm a goon. Like I like getting physical with people. Go in the corner. I'm gonna come and take you out in the corner. I don't care if I get a penalty either. So, and I like to rough it up, and I have some scoring touch.
I don't really think of him as a goon though. I mean,
he's a power forward.
He's got talent. I mean, he's not as good as he was, but he's still. I mean, he can still snipe. He can still score some goals. I mean, it's not like he's completely useless and just out there banging bodies and that's it.
No, but he just has that ability. When you look at him, you're just like, okay, shit's gonna happen on the ice. He's kind of like a Ryan Reeves. He's kind of like there's so many types of guys. Tom Wilson. Like, there's guys out there. You're just like, okay, shit's gonna happen or something's gonna get fucked up.
Yeah.
So
who wouldn't want Tom Wilson on their team?
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Fuck it. Probably Tom Wilson would have been a better version if I actually was scoring ability.
Every team would want a Tom Wilson as much as you hate him.
Oh yeah, for sure. So maybe this is a better fill in the blank.
Okay. Next one.
Okay, let me think of it while I'm going through these.
Let's do a real fill in the blank.
Okay, but I'll get that later on, so at least then I'll let my mind think of it if it's a proper fill in the blank. To fill in the blank, Thomas or Ultra Magnus can't figure out things because fill in the blank. So, but we're going to move on to that. But so, what was your favorite sport playing when you were a kid?
Oh, favorite hockey, no question. I played baseball too. I did two-sport hockey, winter, baseball, summer. But I was actually better at baseball than I was at hockey. But I loved hockey a lot more. I mean, not even close. So.
Well, that's good.
I just wasn't good on the ice at it. I loved playing ball hockey a lot too. So that's big ball hockey player. I played in a few men's leagues when I got to.
Mine was broom ball.
It was broom ball?
Yeah. Basically, you're playing.
Broom ball.
You've never played broom ball if you've never heard it before. It's basically on.
No, I have heard of broom ball and I watched it, and I do not think that is an exciting game. But maybe I'm wrong.
It's like watching ice melt. It's like you just see. Okay, there's just something happening.
It doesn't look fun to me. It doesn't look fun to me. So what did you enjoy about it then?
I played goalie, so I didn't have to do much running around. I guess that was probably the aspect of it.
I think playing goalie broom ball would actually be fun. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, flailing all over the place. I was really good at ball hockey, but I couldn't skate very well. I was fast going forward, but I couldn't stop. But the way I wanted to stop, I'd go over the boards. That's how I get myself to stop. But either way. So, guilty pleasure.
The guilty pleasure question. Let's see. I think most people go with food, so I'll stick with the food route.
Okay.
And say those chocolate chip cookies that come right out of the oven. You know, those ones that are like really chewy, and yeah, that's. When I was a kid, my parents used to buy those big boxes, and then I just toss them in and
indulge.
That was, I mean, that right there, chocolate chip cookies. You know, that's another reason why I came to NHL 95 is because you have cookies. I just haven't gotten any yet, and so.
Well, that's what in-person things are for. Ask the Segathon guys. I brought cookies. I brought maple cookies down for them. So.
Oh, maple! Are you talking about the real ones that
yes.
Sugar?
Yes.
Are you serious? Oh, dude, that would have been that's my guilty pleasure right there.
Well, when you come down for the tournament, I'll have those.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so Nova Scotia has quite a few places like that too, where there's one place literally called the Sugar Farm, but it's just all maple syrup and maple syrup products, and it's about an hour outside of Halifax, and we used to love going there. Because you go there, you have breakfast. It's pancakes, it's bacon, it's sausages, and then it's just whatever, you know, as much as you kind of want to eat.
So there's a place in Quebec is well known. I grew up in Quebec, so it's Cabana Cirque. So it's basically sugar house, or sugar cabin. And there was this one that we used to go to. It was basically the same thing that you just said, but they would have this one thing that, like, I fell in love with. It was poached eggs in maple syrup.
Really?
I
haven't tried that combo.
So this is not something where you would poach the egg and then put it into maple syrup. They actually cook it in maple syrup.
Oh, okay.
So just imagine a custardy maple sugar infusion into your body. I had 22 of them one year, and I'm not proud of it, but it was so delicious I would do it again.
Well, you know, Quebec, they export 70% of the world's maple syrup. Do you know that?
Yeah, but I don't know how long with global warming and everything like that, but who knows. Luckily for me, I have a brother. Yeah. Luckily for me, I have a brother who's actually studying in maple trees across North America and seeing how things could transport. So, neither here.
I gotta know what did the Minnesota guys think of the maple cookies?
They loved them. There was none left when I left.
Yeah, had they ever had one before? Or they had.
I think Segathon may have had them, but Brandon, Blair, Judd, none of them were like, oh my god, this is so good. They had a Jalooey too. They had a Jalooey, which they were like.
What do you call it?
A Jalooey.
A Jalooey. Okay, I thought you were calling it a Jalooey.
No. The Jalooey, I brought those down, and I brought the hard maple candies.
Vachon cakes.
Yeah, Vachon cakes.
Americans wouldn't have that, would they? Probably
no,
not.
They wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. So
well, there you go. Americans, go get yourself a Joe Louie too.
There you go. Go shove your face with another pound cake. Weapon of choice.
Yes, the weapon of choice. Well, considering that I don't really care anything about weapons or guns or
car keys.
Kind of very, very non-violent personality I am. So, but you know what? Let's go with Goldeneye here. Let's go back because that was my favorite first-person shooter game.
Oh.
And the Golden Gun. So that's my weapon of choice. We played that game so much in college. It was endless. We would do our courses during the day, and then we'd go to my buddy's house. We'd have like 3 or 4 Nintendo 64s with that game, and there'd be a whole bunch of us packed in the room. And we used to play one-shot kills, so which is what the Golden Gun is.
Yeah.
And just play that from it was like from 4 o'clock until midnight, and then you're strolling into class the next morning.
But you're thinking
it's after midnight. And these are weekdays.
Oh fuck! I've had those fair shares, but it's like you roll into class, Mr. Smarty Penny. We're gonna do 1 kill shots tonight.
Yeah. Oh, we love the one-shot kills, and
So-
I mean, we played a lot of different formats, but the golden gun, that's my weapon of choice, hands down.
Fair
Oh,
enough.
yeah.
So just to give you a little bit of a fruit taster, is that we're gonna have Goldeneye at Waves Gaming for the tournament.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it on my laptop. We'll have the 2 controllers, and people can at least play Goldeneye.
Oh, you know what? But you need 4 controllers. That's what's fun. We should. I have an N64 home with GoldenEye, but it's kind of weak.
No, well, we'll
Every
use
once in
the
a while, the game just cuts out.
We'll use the emulator. We got 4 Bluetooth controllers. We could probably rock it.
Okay, you need 4. Playing with 2 is not really that fun. 3 is okay, but we always. I mean, 4 you gotta have 4 because it's just you need more chaos on the screen at one time. You can see everybody else's.
Breaking news! Breaking news! Local retro hockey game tournaments shut down due to GoldenEye outrage, where someone has been shot with a true one-shot kill.
A few of my buddies here in Saskatchewan, I'm hoping that they'll come, but they're huge GoldenEye fans.
Well,
And so that is a fun game. I can't imagine there's that most of the people that are listening to this haven't at least tried it once. That is such.
So
an
the funny
amazing
thing is, if somebody were to ask me right now, what system would you buy if you wanted to buy a system to play games on, just to play? I would honestly buy a 64. There were so many good games on N64 that were like still amazing today and amazing back then. And I can roll off at least 10. You got NFL Blitz, you got NHL Hits, the original. You have GoldenEye, you have Mario Kart, you have Madden, you had there were so many. You had Zelda, what's it called? The Orinka. I don't remember the title of it, but there was like the 3 Zeldas. There's just so many great games. Even Snowboarders 1080 I'd play, which I hate snowboarding, but it was such a fun game.
And you know what? I can't remember if I played it or not, but I know that Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey seems to get mentioned a lot.
Yes, that's another one.
For 64. So, because that's the one where you score and then I think the net lights up on fire or whatever.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking of the right one.
Yeah, you are thinking of the right one.
Yeah.
So next.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know what I would buy. I still feel like the Super Nintendo overall, when you look at all the adventure games and stuff that came out with, or even the original Nintendo, it's just mounds and mounds of games.
There's so many of them, and now like even with I would still buy a Sega because there's so many great titles in there, and like I grew up with a Sega. My cousins had the Super Nintendo. We would go over there just to play Zelda and Mario Kart. It was like almost euphoric. But Sega was also my thing, and like I said, like my favorite game growing up was theme park other than NHL 95. And it was basically you would go around building a carnival theme park, which sounds stupid, but it was like SimCity. But there's been so many new retro games that come out. Probably one of the best games I've seen in a long time it's called Xenocrisis, and it's basically like Contra but side-scrolling and
Never
vertical.
heard of it.
It's really good. I actually have it on Ultra Magnus's Modtopia.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Sega mod, so it's amazing. But regardless, personal life deal breaker.
Personal life deal breaker. I think this has to do with what you won't put up with, or something.
I should just say
right?
pet peeves would probably be a better way to say.
Oh gosh, pet peeves. Let's go with the goalie getting stuck in the corner. Stop doing that to me. Stop it. I hate it. I don't like it at all. I've accepted it, but I hate it.
It's not a
And
goalie.
this isn't even life. This is just specifically NHL 95. Trapping my goalie in the corner, sticking him against the post. Damn you.
That's the same thing as the down B. I reach across the screen and choke you to death.
I do whatever I can to try and avoid that happening, but there are just some guys that are so good to make it happen.
Yeah.
Troy Hill is definitely one of them. He can get your goalie locked in there.
Plus, you've been put on notice.
Too, so.
Plus, you've been put on notice.
Sagathon did it to me yesterday, and then he missed the open net.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was just like wide open cage and it didn't go in. And,
So, if you had a choice of any pet, doesn't matter what animal, which one would it be?
Pet. You know what? I'm going to go with goat because they like eggs. They eat eggs, and so that's.
And they like to probably eat feet too. Who knows?
Yeah.
Sagathon, I wonder why you like goats.
Yeah, that's my thing there. Goats, because they eat eggs.
Oh, there you go. I don't like that one. That's always like there's some of the questions I'm reading through them. I'm like, okay, that one's all a lot of fun. But funniest sounding word that is not funny.
Funniest sounding word that is not funny. I heard you ask this on a couple of other podcasts, and I was trying to think of any word. This is actually, I'm completely blank on this one. I had no idea.
The big one so far, the consensus, because there's only been 3 of them, but moist has been a big one. Nate came up with one that was Chinese, which I don't remember. It was something like pling blah pling blah blah or something like that. I don't know what it was.
How about Gaelic gopher? I've never
that is pretty. That is yeah.
I never met a gopher that spoke Gaelic. It could be a funny word, but I mean it's not. I mean it's a serious player, dedicated to NHL 95 life, fully committed. But
so it's just
not funny at all. It could be funny, but it's not funny.
Mine was kumquat.
Yes, the fruit.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
First person to get it, but unless you heard it from the last podcast, that's the only way.
I definitely heard it from the last. I knew I've heard of that before.
Okay. Fair enough. Do you
heard of that fruit before?
This is kind of a stupid question because I kind of already got an idea of what the answer could be.
There are no stupid questions except for the one you're just about to ask.
And there's only stupid people. But if you collect something, what would it be? Or if not, what would it be? What is it?
Well, I used to collect sports cards, and now this is very sad. I probably had over 200,000 baseball and hockey cards, and some football cards too. Like, I'm not kidding. And they were at my parents' house, and my dad was kind of tired of sitting in the garage because I'm out here, and I didn't bring them out with me because it's just like there's mounds. I mean, we're talking boxes and boxes. And just to give you an idea of how many boxes, I sold them, and this was probably about 8 years ago that I sold them. Now, it's too bad now because, I mean, if anybody knows, sports cards are peaking now. They have been probably for about a year. And now would have been a real good time to sell them. But so I sold that many under $200.
Wow, a penny
so
a
when
card.
the guy, my dad told him, he's like, "You're not going to get this in one trip." And the guy's like, "Oh." So he showed up. Him and his girlfriend showed up in 2 separate cars. They filled up their entire vehicles, backseat, front, trunk, everything, to get all the cards in there. So it was stacked with cards. Now, again, a lot of them were those 90s cards, don't really have a lot of value, but there were definitely some really good cards.
Pro Set 1990.
I had a few good Muriel Lemieux in his early age, and some of the Robitaille rookies, and just things off the top of my head. There was definitely some good cards in there. For sure. I mean, that's just a small ones I mentioned, just the tip of the iceberg. But so huge mistake. But oh well. That's
let learn.
That's what happens.
Live and let learn, eh?
Yeah, that's one of my regrets in life. There.
Well, okay. So you're all now. I'm gonna have to nick that one, but now that's okay.
I have other regrets, but we'll just put that one as the answer.
Well, yeah. Okay, I think I'm almost done my fill in the blank one. That one's going to come in a couple questions. Who's got the best logo in the league?
Ooh, the best logo.
So whose is the best and whose is the worst?
I've got the thing in front of me here. I'm just going to try and go through and try and go by memory. I like the Hoth one.
Yeah.
I like the Hoth Wampus. That's a cool logo. And my favorite team though is the Sudbury Saturday Knights. That name is awesome.
Yeah, it is
Jerseys
pretty good.
are awesome too.
Yeah.
I went in and I was like, good, that's my favorite team name for sure in colors. But yeah, I'll go with Hoth. I like the Wampus.
That's good. I would say the Wampas were there. We were saying Miami was a pretty nice one. Mine's Nate's.
Miami was a great one, but they're not in the league, so that's why I didn't pick it.
So, but I would say Nate's with the Taipei Typhoons. I like it. It's just really crisp. And yours is pretty funny, too. When you said Saskatchewan Samsquanches, I'm like, yeah, that's a fucking play on bubbles for sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, I didn't design it. I stole it off the internet because I figured it had to be something that somebody would have made one, and sure enough, they did. So.
All right. So I've come to my fill in the blank one.
Actually, I should also say Sunnyvale, just because I got that Trailer Park Boys connection because I used to work on the show, and whoever incorporated Jim Leahy into a Blackhawks logo was pretty creative. So
and the fact that he calls his team the Shithawks and Jim Leahy was a big shit talker.
And he was going to change it after first season, and I was just like, oh no, don't do it. This is the best name. This is the best name for a team.
Dude, save the Shithawks.
So I'm glad he didn't change, and he's kept it for 5 seasons, and hopefully he'll continue to keep it for more. But yeah.
So who's got the worst logo?
The worst logo. Oh boy.
I'll tell you mine. I
don't know. I don't think there's any logo that I despise. I mean, they're all pretty good.
I despise a few of them, but my honest and Matty A, I'm sorry, but your logo stinks. Like it could be so much crazier or like a lot more involved. But that like
I will say this, I don't understand his logo.
Neither do I.
Because I think K Vegas. I guess I don't understand the meaning behind it. I mean, he probably better if you interview him to explain it.
Oh, he's going to. He's going to. I think he's a few interviews away, but yeah, he's definitely going to be one, and that's the question I'm going to ask him.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I suppose I could Google what K Vegas is. Maybe it actually has a specific meaning I never had, but I didn't get that. I didn't understand that one. So.
Because when you think about K Vegas Chaos, I'm just like, okay, it's going to be like an explosion or something like that, and then you see this, and you're like, it's like.
Oh, is that what it's a playoff of? Chaos?
I guess, but when I look at the logo, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things I don't get, and that's truly one of them. So, regardless. So here's your fill in the blank question.
Fill in the
fill in the blank. This is gonna be your fill in the blank. Yeah, fill the blank in. So, Puss and blank are going to blank to do blank.
What?
Puss and blank are going to blank to do blank.
Oh, dude, you're hitting me up too early in the morning. There's too many.
Okay. All right, let's dumb it down a little bit.
How about Ultra Magnus with the rope in the ballroom?
Okay. So Puss and Magnus going to the ballroom to do the rope.
There's my clue guess.
This is like fucking Mad Libs. Regardless, okay. So I'm gonna have to work on the fill in the blanks.
I just couldn't process it. I'm sure you probably had something that you were going for. I just wasn't getting it.
Yeah. That fell on deaf ears, probably. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Probably regenerative healing.
Yeah, that's mine. That's the one I've used on all three.
I just picked that because I know you've been saying it.
So, Nate's was pretty good.
I'm gonna go with Mind Reader. That's what I want.
Okay, that's good.
Like, then when I'm not playing you guys, and
he's going left.
Bring on the Mind Reader. It's like, okay, I already see his pattern here, so he's not going to score. So
The bad thing is with Mind
actually,
Reader.
he probably still will score.
The thing is with Mind Reader is that you don't want to get to a point where somebody else is trying to read your mind, and you're just like, "What the fuck are you doing in here?" I'm trying to read your mind. You're like, and you're looking at each other but not saying anything. I would think that would be kind of funny, but neither here or there. That's for another comment.
Well, it goes back to the animal too. Then I can actually talk to the goat and say, do you really like eggs? And then I could just read his mind if I give him some eggs.
Hey, buddy, do you really like eggs? Yeah, fuck, I love eggs, but this guy over here is not giving me anything. Keeps giving me fucking feet. Do you have any secret talents?
No.
Okay, that was plain and blunt, but okay. I was thinking
like, God, I can't speak Spanish or Chinese or Mandarin or whatever.
I was honestly thinking it's just like, oh, I know how to play the ukulele. I'm like, holy, okay, that's pretty cool.
I can't play instruments. I'm pretty talentless when it comes to extra skills or secret skills. So because I tried to think about that question. I figured you'd probably ask that one. Sorry, buddy.
What is the? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say nothing comes to mind.
Okay. What is the funniest nickname you've ever heard?
The funniest nickname?
Yeah. That you've ever heard. Normally the question would have been like, what's the nickname that you have or somebody else that has given you?
Okay, so one of my best friends in school, he was, he still is my best friend growing up, but he's the shyest person ever. I mean, and just to give you an idea, he was voted the shyest guy at our high school. 1,300 people.
Oh, fuck.
they do these voting things, and they voted for him. But he had a nickname. They called him McDump, and I have no idea why. But it was just they called him McDump, and I always thought that was kind of funny. But there was no one ever really knew the reason, and he didn't know why he was called that. But I don't even know who even started it. But they just say, hey, McDump.
Honestly, the funniest one I've ever heard was our gym teacher in high school. We called him Cocklegs because he walked like a cowboy.
He walked like a cowboy.
Yeah, like he was almost like his ass was up in the air, but he was like legs apart, almost like he's about to do a squat. But that's how he walked, and we called him Cocklegs. We thought he maybe had a horse-sized cock, but apparently not. But it was just funny how he walked, and that was the name that everybody gave him was Cocklegs. Even the seventh graders who just came into the school called him Cocklegs. So it was hilarious. I don't know if it's still going on today or if he's still alive. It's just probably
That's pretty embarrassing.
It is, but whatever. It was still funny. I still find it was funny. Sexiest accent.
Newfoundland.
Oh, new face. I would say that.
Long may your big jib draw by.
That sounds like somebody's got marbles in their mouth.
Newfoundlanders. I always thought that's a cool one.
What is something that makes you laugh no matter what?
Farley. Chris Farley. I heard that Nathan was talking about Black Sheep and Tommy Boy, and I was just like, oh man, those movies, the ones that Farley were in Saturday Night, like anything he does, I find funny.
Lunch Ladyland. We're by the living down in a van by the river.
That one was hilarious. There's one skit that he does he does a bunch with David Spade, but there's one where they're on the news show and they talk about they just got back from a trip for, it's like, what do you call it, a college week. But
spring break.
Spring break. Google that one. But Google Farley Spade Spring Break. It is. I don't know why I find it so funny, but it's really not that funny when you watch it because it's just them yapping about a bunch of stupid stuff. I can't even explain it. It's just like they say, we were on the plane and the guy was like, hey, and he was like, whoa, and I was like, huh? And that's the whole skit. And it's just like when you watch it, it's like this is the lamest skit, but I just thought it was so funny. So
The skits that
if
always.
you like Farley, Google that one, and you will just laugh at it. Just
So,
because it's him.
if you like Farley, watch Zagat's.
Saget?
Zagat's. It's with Adam Sandler and him. It's on SNL. It's basically Chris Farley's a woman, and his husband is Adam Sandler, but they're looking through New York's restaurant guide. And it's just they play it back together. He's just like, oh, look, they're saying this is the famous steakhouse. And he does this big wide open smile, and then opens his mouth, and then looks over at Adam Sandler, and Adam Sandler's breaking character left, right, and center because he can't stop laughing at fucking Farley. So it's pretty funny. Zagat's, yeah.
Okay, I wrote that one down.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
I might have seen it. I don't remember. It doesn't ring a bell offhand. But
what is your spirit animal?
It's a goat. I already told you.
No, I said what would be a pet if you had one that you would want?
Oh, okay.
But if
he's still my spirit. He's still the spirit animal.
Would it be the same goat from Waterboy?
The egg goat.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
what we'll call it. Egg goats.
We can egg goats. It's almost like egos, but egg goats. If you were on a deserted island and had 5 things to bring with you, what would they be?
Oh, you haven't asked this one yet.
Oh, I asked it to Nate the other day.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what 5 things I'd bring to an island? Yeah. Let's see here. How about so let's go the obvious one. The NHL 95 crew. You guys are all coming to the deserted island.
That's one. It's a package deal.
That's one.
And you're gonna bring NHL 94.
I'll bring a Super Nintendo.
Well, so this is what I told Nate. This is what I told Nate. Is that he's just like, well, can I bring a TV? I'm like, just imagine there's a power outlet somewhere. He's like, okay, yeah. I want to bring the TV with the the Sega Nintendo and the NHL 95. I said it's a package deal. That's one item.
I wouldn't bring. I'd bring both. I'd bring 94 and 95.
You'd be the person you play the 95s, and when everyone's asleep, you go and play 94.
Yeah. Is this a deserted island? Is that what you said?
Deserted, remote, tropical, whatever you want to call it. I use deserted island, and I spelled it dessert like as if you're having dessert.
Right, and I'd bring Colin's yacht with us. Colin's got a yacht. He's got like that 60-foot or 80-foot yacht he's got. So
okay.
Right, we'd bring that, and then I'd bring. Let's see here. I think Nipples is a fishing guy, so I'd bring his tackle box and his fishing rods, so we can go fishing. And let's see here.
You have 2 left.
Well,
one left.
Yeah. Okay. So, and Einstein, I think he owns a barbecuing. He has a barbecue company, so I'd buy like 10 of his barbecues and bring those with us. So 10 barbecues. Actually, let's make it a baker's dozen. Baker's dozen of barbecues, and then Troy Hill. I mean, he's the cook. He's the chef. So
yeah, cooking with puss is like honestly. It's like we're doing aged meat or something. It's just.
I'm bringing a grocery list. I'm giving him a grocery list that is 10 miles long, and he's going to pick up all the stuff and bring it.
Sounds good.
So how does that sound for a week on an island?
Sounds good, but you're forgetting one key factor.
Oh, alcohol?
Yeah. I
forgot about that. You know what? I should have been on that right off the bat.
There's nobody has mentioned that. Well, even though this is only the second time I brought up this question, but nobody has brought that up.
Okay, let's go with.
You have to cancel something out. You don't really need the yacht. You're on an island.
Right. Okay. Let's go with. I'll say that B. Clinton's going to bring. Audubon's going to bring his. Audubon or B. Clinton's going to bring their favorite beer. I'll let them pick.
Okay, that's fair enough.
What is the beer of choice in Minnesota? I have no idea. What were they?
They don't drink beer over there. They drink soda. Mini soda.
They drink soda?
No, it was a funny thing I was trying to do, but it fell on deaf ears again.
I thought like you were saying like that.
No,
alcoholic beverage.
I don't know. I think I think they don't even read this. Yeah, smallest. What's the world's smallest pop? Oh, Minnesota. Um, I honestly think that they look at the thing and they says, oh, it's if you know when you see The Simpsons it says Duff beer, but when you're having something and it's in person, but you don't want to get screwed for trademarks and you cover it with a thing of tape and just says beer, that is what the Minnesota guys are. It's just like we don't care what it is, we'll drink it.
And I apologize. I only got the soda joke now.
Okay.
30-second delay sometimes for me sometimes.
Well, put it this way, it's probably still like only 6 o'clock over there for you. So, next question: favorite game other than '95, which would be not '95 because it's not your favorite.
I was gonna say, like,
'94.
Don't put words in my mouth.
I have to backtrack on that one, but what's your favorite game other than '94?
Other than '94, oh gosh, there's so many good ones though. Like pretty much any retro sports game. There's so many. I'm trying to think of which ones that I.
You can say indifferent.
Play more than once, but I go back to Goldeneye.
Okay.
I go back to that.
That's
Outside of retro sports games, that was probably the one that I played the most. So, and I like all the Zelda games too. Although Zelda games are fun.
So I got 4 questions left, and then I have a quick 10 yes or no answers, and that's all I'm going to ask you.
Great.
Worst fear?
Heights.
Okay.
This was already mentioned before, but I jumped off a ladder when I was 8 years old and landed on my feet and thought it was awesome, and then I did it again and injured myself. So.
This is not fun.
Kind of always had a nervous thing for heights. I would say it's nowhere near as bad as where. I mean, I don't mind being on ladders, but it was,
Do you have a bucket list trip that you would like to take?
Yes, the World Cup, 2026.
Ooh.
It's going to be in North America for those that aren't soccer fans, but I love the World Cup.
So those Americans who think it's football, it's not football. It's American football, and that's true football.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just saying because we have Americans listening on this too, so you have to explain to them American tackle football is called American football to the rest of the world, other than the U.S.
Oh, I'm sure that they know the difference.
Not all of them, especially the Philly Ding Dongs.
People call it football everywhere else, but I don't call it football. I still call it soccer.
Okay.
So
fair.
But yeah, so Canada's got 2 host cities, Mexico's got 3, and then the United States has 11, I think. So, anyways, that's my thing. I just got to figure out how many games I can see and where I can go and whatnot. But 2026 is going to be that's my bucket list trip. Huge. I love the World Cup.
Sounds good. Okay.
And I didn't even play soccer growing up. I don't even like club soccer or the MLS. I mean, I follow it a little bit, and I follow the European leagues a little bit, but especially the fact that Canada qualified this year for the first time in 30-some years is pretty cool that their men's team did. I mean, the women's team's always been really good. They won the gold medal there last summer or whenever it was.
Yeah, when they beat Team USA, and the USA was like, we should have never let that happen. Well, it did.
And then the shootout against Sweden was incredible. They were down in that shootout, and then the last 3 shots they needed to score. They needed to stop Sweden, and then they needed to score again, or something like that. And all those things happened perfectly to send it into the extra shots. But it was.
I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's on YouTube. I think his name is Scott, and it's a guy who basically he's the soccer goalie, and like the guys are trying to kick it in. He's in the shootout net, and the ball keeps hitting him in the face somehow, and they even put him like right next to. Like if you've never seen it, it's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, Scott, his name is Scott. I know what you're talking about because he does one for volleyball too.
Yes. Yeah. It was pretty funny. So look online, guys, about Scott getting hit with a soccer ball or a volleyball. It's just fucking hilarious.
The first time I saw that was was pretty good. It was so well done.
So in lieu of that, what is something that you've? Oh, we already talked about that part. Favorite beer?
Alexander Keith's.
Good choice.
It's over 200 years old. The brewing company started in 1820. It's based out of Halifax. If you ever get a chance to go to that city, do the brewery tour. It's pretty cool. They hire actors to take you through the tour like it was back then, and they do. There's one part where you get to drink as much as you want in a certain amount of time. So go nuts. And there's performances and all that kind of stuff. So if you get some really good performers, that's my suggestion for anybody who wants to go on the East Coast. Nova Scotia is a very tourism-based province, and it's tiny, and the city is very tourism-based. It's right on the ocean.
Great seafood. Great seafood.
I mean, if you want a place to go visit, and I'm not saying that because I'm from there, it is worth going to see. And if you like golf, there's some of the top golf courses in the world are in Gibret, which is about a 3 or 4 hour drive outside of Halifax, but well worth the drive. So
this public announcement brought to you by Halifax. Travel anywhere you want with Travel Advocity from Halifax.
I don't remember if it was. I can't remember if it was Louie or one of the other guys in Illinois. One of them is going to Halifax, and it was just like
I think it's Louie.
Okay, you want to go see this, and you want to go see this, and you want to go see this. I said, before you go, ask me again, and I'll hit you up with it. So I said, I'll plan your trip for you, and then you'll make sure you hit all the good stuff.
Yeah,
so.
just send me the check in the mail. It has to be cashier's check. I don't take cash or credit. Favorite TV show and movie?
Trailer Park Boys.
Both?
Not just because I worked on it. Well, the movies weren't that great in my opinion, but the show is fantastic. I think it's just because I love that kind of humor. Not just because I worked on the show, but I still quote a lot of it, and I just find it so funny. And I don't know if there'll be ever a show that I will laugh at as much as that.
No, I'm in the same boat. I thought Letterkenny was getting there, but then it kind of went off the rails.
I haven't seen Letterkenny. I have seen clips of it. That is probably another show that I would really like to watch, and I probably would really enjoy it. But
the big one I've been watching a lot, and I've watched it since I was a kid, was Red Dwarf. And I mentioned this on one of the pods that I said earlier, was basically it's a guy who's in space on a mining corporation's big freaking spaceship, and he goes into stasis because he didn't want to divulge where his cat was, and basically the reactor on the ship broke and had a stasis leak and killed everybody. But then 2 million years later, he's brought out of stasis was when everything else is brought down. And his roommate, who he fucking hates, is brought back to life as a hologram. His cat has evolved over the centuries and millennia into a humanoid cat who's arrogant and like...
Is it a cartoon?
No, it's an actual TV show. It's BBC.
Oh.
And they go to this other derelict ship over a couple... I think it's starting in like season 2 or 3, where they find a mechanoid called Crichton, who's basically like... does anything he wants because he's there to service a human. So it's really funny. I found it was really good, at least for the time. But Trailer Park Boys is definitely in my top 3 of best TV shows of all time.
Every time you mention Red Dwarf, I think of Red Dawn.
No, Red Dwarf.
That's not my favorite. That's not my favorite movie, but I did like that movie. Anybody haven't seen Red Dawn? It's that 80s movie.
Red Dawn's good.
The Russians attacked the United States, and
it's kind of like the Hunt for the Red October.
Is the guy that Segathon always talks? Swayze? Is it Swayze?
Yeah. The dirty fucking dancer.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It ties all together. The mullets, the Red Dawns, the Swayzes.
I have a question to you then, quickly, about Trailer Park Boys. Were you there when Conky came in?
Conky was season 3. I think Conky was before.
With his abscessed tooth. His abscessed tooth.
I was there in season 1. as an assistant editor. And the first time I remember the footage when it came in, I just thought to myself, like, this is insane that nobody's done this yet, and it is so funny, and this is going to be a huge hit. Now, I only stuck with that company. I left after a year, and they actually tried to bring me back on the show itself, but the problem was that the show only films 3 months a year, and I took another job to make more money, and which again we're talking back in like the year 2000 or something like that, or 99 or 2000 or whatever it was. It was like those early 2000s, and I think I was making $9 an hour, so I went to a job that made $10 an hour, which to me was a big difference of that extra dollar a minute of time.
I needed my bus tickets.
That industry does not pay very well. So, and I know that the director liked to have me on the show, and he kept wanting me to come back, and I just like, I'd love to come back, but I just can't justify being out of work for 9 months a year. I can't afford to pay for anything. So I was kind of, I wish I could have figured out a way to make it work, because I would have loved to stuck it out the whole time. It was such a good show. But Conky came in, I think it was season 3 or season 4. I don't remember. I came there back in season 5 because then I just said screw it. Like I know that if I don't go back on it, I'll miss out on something great. And I managed to get 3 full years of work out of it, because there were other projects that came up that I could work on as well. And then what I did was I did camera work, and I did edit. I was assistant video editor, basically the guy who preps the work for the guy who puts the show together. So, and so then I was there in season 5. That was the season that they first made the park. So anybody that watched the show, they first filmed the first 4 seasons in an actual park, but then they made the park in season 5, and so I was there for the next 3 seasons until it ended. We'll call it ended the first time. And,
Yeah.
And that park that they built. Here's an interesting tidbit. So that the park that they built, they brought in probably, I'll say maybe 40 trailers that they used on the set. It was on top of this hill of an abandoned hospital that was just, completely run down and everything else, but they had the land there. And so you can sometimes see it on the shot if you're paying close attention. So all those trailers that they brought in, guess how much it cost them to buy those trailers?
$100.
Pretty darn close. $500. Like, that was it. And so all they had to do was just pay for the transportation to get them there. But all these trailers were like they were run down. And some of it was actually some of it was completely sad. You'd walk in, and it was like people had left in the middle of the night. So there was like dirty dishes still in the sink, food still in the cupboards. And I was just like, oh man, you see other things like.
So Ricky's trailer would have been right in place with it then.
Yeah. So I mean, what they did was they didn't touch any of the ones that had all that crap in it. They just kind of boarded them up and only used I think they have 5 or 6 set pieces, probably the better ones that were easy. They're either mostly cleaned out and whatever. So, but anyways, that was a pretty cool experience of being there when that happened. So what I did was a lot of stuff I did was not just an assistant editor, but I put a lot of that DVD content that you see in season 4, season 5, season 6, season 7. I worked on a lot of that extra feature stuff. That was my job.
Cool.
Which was a lot of fun. And my favorite quote from the producers was they would say, Daryl, we don't care what you do, just make it not suck.
Fair enough.
So we wrote that. I remember my boss wrote it on the big whiteboard, make it not suck, and that was what we used to do. We would say whatever we did, make it not suck.
So what would be your favorite movie then?
Favorite movie? Probably Shawshank Redemption. I think I've watched that at least 10 times. So I'd have to go with that. Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
I watched that more.
Yeah,
I've watched that more.
Shawshank Redemption, I always remember the thing where he says, you don't really recognize somebody walking out with shiny new shoes.
Yeah.
So I always remember that. So,
Yeah.
so we're going to the, like, this is now going to be like considered the rapid fire section of it. So
Fire
this
away.
topic is Trailer Park Boys. Basically, it's a yes or no, or you give a name.
Okay.
Leahy or Randy?
Leahy.
Bubbles
He's
or
definitely funnier.
Bubbles or Julian?
Oh, Bubbles. And the actual actor is 10 times funnier when he's not in character, if you can believe that.
Trevor or Corey?
Trevor. He's a Vancouver Canucks fan, and I know that. We used to talk about it.
The Shipmobile or Julian's cars?
Oh, Shipmobile. It's iconic. It goes, it's in the, it gets, like car shows want it there. It travels all over the province and everywhere.
Most quoted sentence on the show.
Oh, well, I don't know what the most quoted is. The one I quote the most is, "That's the way she goes." I say it all the time.
Mine's worst case Ontario.
I just, the way she goes, I use it because it's just like, it's such a great quote. It's funny, but if you think of it in the grand scheme of life, and you don't let things bother you, so whenever something goes bad, and you just say, you know what, it's the way she goes, and you just move on with your life. It's such a great quote.
More like the real person or completely fake? Ricky. Was he more like he was in the show, or was he more like completely opposite?
Oh no, he's completely opposite. He's nowhere near like that in the show. He's really actually pretty down to earth guy to talk to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one would be, which season do you honestly think Trailer Park Boys should have stopped and not come back?
I think they should have ended it after 7. It was the first 7 seasons were. Season 5 is by far, in my opinion, the best one, and hands down, that's the one with the hash driveway.
Yeah.
When they got the newer ones, they kind of went a bit farther. I feel like that phrase "jump the shark" or whatever. I feel like they kind of got there a little bit, but there was one season that had Snoop Dogg in it, and
that's when Julian had his casino and Ricky had his pot store.
Pretty good. That one was pretty good.
Season 5, I actually was watching that the other night, and it was funny too because it was the one where Ray wakes up after they burnt down his trailer, and Ricky's laying in the driveway on top of the hash, and Ray says to him, he says, "Bubbles, like, who drank your alcohol?" and everything like that. He's like, "Oh, it was Julian." And then he said the same thing with Ray, and he's just like, "I had 9 cans of ravioli. Where are they?" He says, "Who ate them?" He says, "I think I had one. I think." And then he says, "Well," and then he points over to Julian. So
that is a really good scene.
That is
a really good scene. It's just like the later seasons. I tried to watch them, and I did watch one season. Like I said, I watched the one with Snoop Dogg, and it was pretty good. But I found like it seemed like at times there were rehash of jokes, and maybe as a general viewer you might not pick up on it, but because I was I don't know how many times I watched the first 7 seasons as an editor, that I went through footage after footage after footage, because sometimes I would be going back to see what was said in earlier seasons to add as part of the content. So I've watched it so many times, and then when you kind of see sometimes the jokes reappear, it's like, oh yeah, it's fun. It was funny the first time I heard it, but
yeah,
now it's kind of a remorphed version again of the same joke, and it just wasn't. It just kind of turned me down a little bit. Anyways, but I know that a lot of people love those later seasons too. So for me personally, I felt like after season 7, that was a good ending.
So the last 2 things I'm gonna ask: Jamie Parsons, how funny is he?
Who?
Jamie Parsons.
Who's Jamie Parsons?
J-Rock. Isn't it Jamie Parsons?
Is that his character name?
No, that's his real name.
No, Jonathan Torrance.
Jonathan Torrance. Yeah, sorry.
Well, he goes, his real name is Jamie. And then I was thinking, did you find out his last name? How did you know that? Because I didn't even know that.
No, I thought it was like, for some reason I thought it was Parsons, but then I was thinking of Big Bang Theory. I'm like, that's actually James Parsons, who's actually Sheldon in the
Right.
show. So
Yeah.
forget what I said.
Jonathan Torrance.
Torrance.
He is such a great person. Super funny. You know what? Like he's when it came to just kind of off the cuff stuff, it's just incredible what that guy could come up with. I mean, it was honestly sometimes that was the best stuff you saw in the show was when the director would get the scene once he got a take that he felt like the scene was what he wanted. Then he would, and sometimes he would tweak it as he went, but then he would say, okay, this scene here, just kind of loosely stick to the script, but go nuts. And sometimes that was a lot of the best stuff that you would see in the show when they got to do their own improv and the lines that they would come up with. And it was, like...
the one that I always find it funny, but I also find it really stupid is when J-Rock's rapping about, I go to the store, I'm on my bike, I'm riding around, I'm like, what the fuck is that? And all the guys, and he's like, oh yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? That doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, it was that character, I guess all the characters combined make it such a great show because there's just a little bit of everything in there.
Great dynamics.
And, no, I mean, depending on if you're listening to this and where you live, you may not live near a trailer park, but where I lived, they were everywhere. I mean, it was like I lived in a town, and there was literally trailer parks that surrounded all the towns. So people out that way could totally relate to somebody. Like when you see that stuff happen in the show, there are so many people that say, yeah, that happens in my park. And you think to myself, wow, that actually is a thing. But I mean, the idea of the show itself was definitely, it's fully inspired by the communities that are around there, and
Dartmouth.
Yeah, I mean, there's trailer parks in Sackville and Dartmouth and
Yarmouth.
Kind of everywhere in between. So Yarmouth.
So the last question is your favorite Trailer Park Boys episode.
Ooh.
Since you did 7 seasons of the data.
You know what? It's the Christmas special. I don't, and I'll say it's because of the scene where Ricky confuses God and Santa. The first time when that rolled in, and I hadn't read the script prior, and so when the footage came in that night, and I was logging it, and I saw that, I burst out. I remember sitting in that, I remember sitting there for about 10 minutes. I could not stop laughing. I could not work. I was laughing so hard that he confused those two, and so when part of my job when I was as an assistant editor was to watch the footage. So I was pretty much, I'd say I was the first person to watch it when it came in. So it was filmed, and then it would come to me, and so then I would be the one that would be putting in the computer. So I'd make it notes. So anything that I thought was funny, I made sure I wrote, hey, this is hilarious, or I put it in big caps, super funny, or great reaction here by so and so. And so I would put all those notes. So that way, the guy that's editing it, he didn't have to cut through that. He could just look and say, okay, this is at least an initial reaction by me, and so then he could decide if he wanted to use that. But at least the notes were there. So that the first time I saw that episode, it was just, and then of course when he's in the church and he's asking everybody who here is high right now, and no one sticks up. I think Ray is the only one that sticks up his hand, and then he says, "Well, you're in your church, you can't lie. Who's high right now?" And then 90% of the people stick up their hands. There's just so many great things in that.
I'll have to watch that one.
Oh, well, I probably ruined it for you then.
No. It's Trailer Park Boys is that type of show. Even if somebody were to tell you the whole storyline, it's until you get to watch it yourself, you'll get your own spin on it.
Christmas special, hands down. I remember I remember being on set too. It was filmed in the summer, but they brought in this fake snow stuff.
Yeah.
And it was weird. You walk on set and you instantly wanted to put on a coat. You just felt cold. It was weird to have the effect it had on your mind, even though it was 20 degrees, which would be in Fahrenheit probably, what's that, around 70, 75?
Yeah.
you instantly wanted to put on a coat because it felt so much colder. So I remember that, experiencing that too.
All right, so that brings us to the end of rapid fire in quotations. So the next segment, which is the last one, is open dialogue or ask Magnus or any kind of things that are on your mind.
Let's talk about Dark Side.
Dark Side of 95. So any of
tournament.
The 95 tournament in October 15th, as well as a prelude on the 14th. Basically, we're going to have the NHL 95 in-person tournament. It's nothing to take away from the Waterloo, nothing to take away from the High tournament, nothing to take away from the Segathon tournament. However,
I don't think it's anything to take away from any of them. Those
No.
are all great tournaments.
Those are all in person. They're all Segathon's in-person tournament. That was a bucket list thing for me when I started hearing about it. I'm like, I got to be at one of these things, and I got to go to the granddaddy of them all. It was a blast. But the 95 one, I think it's an opportunity for everyone to get together from all across the league, and it's going to give us an opportunity to compete with some 94 guys in person for the first time ever. So I think it's going to be quite exciting.
Yeah, and there is a couple of 94 guys that are playing in the 95.
The return of the king.
You know what? I'll just say too. I remember like the very first King of '94, which was back in 2015, and we had 120 some people there. It was I've organized tournaments everywhere. I mean, several cities across Canada and Vegas in the United States and whatever. But it was. I remember that first tournament was so intense, and I think Segathon, like he would know from being at the Tecmo Bowl tournaments how it can get. So it's playing in your tournament with all the guys that you know is awesome and cool. But when you start playing people that you don't know, it's like a different.
It's a mind fuck.
And I remember the very first game that I played. Like, because I don't get nervous anymore when I play in live tournaments. But that very first game, I was nervous as hell. And so the guy that I was playing, it wasn't until like the third period that I figured out that he wasn't even using manual goalie, and I was already losing at that point. I'm like, I should be destroying this guy, and I ended up losing. It was too late when I figured it out, and I lost 6-5, and so. But I mean, like those, like you only get 10 minutes to figure somebody out. And I think that's like the cool thing about it. If you already know them, you already know their playing style. And so you know how to, at least what you have to do to try to win. But when you get into these moments where you're just like, you've never played this person before, and it's like, okay, I have a very short amount of time to figure out how to beat them. It's pretty cool that way. Now, I mean, we add a lot of round robin games. I mean, there's 6 round robin games, so maybe you have one bad game. It's not a big deal because you still got 5 games to make up for it. But yeah, so it was. I would say if you're listening and you think that you might want to come, you really should. It is so much fun to be a part of it, and just to be a part of that weekend. I mean. We'll have lots of prizes to give away, door prizes and stuff like that to give away as part of it. And the Friday night's going to be fun as well. We've got lots of extra games. We've got, and then there's that one guy he's developing a game, and it's kind of a very retro themed hockey game, and he wants us to play it and test it out. It seems like it's almost done. I think he's really just looking for last minute feedback, and I think this is kind of a great opportunity for people that are there that can just kind of go and test it out. And it's called Hockey Heroes.
Hockey Heroes, yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool too. So
yeah, well, there's the other one that's Tape to Tape, which was quite interesting because they actually liked our Jagger Salute GIF.
Yeah, I think he's a Montreal developer.
Yeah, he is. And the funny thing is, as well, is that I found this out this morning, not to get off topic, but we also had No Sleeves, like our GIF.
Yeah.
Which
cool.
No Sleeves is like 400,000 followers or whatever it is.
Yeah, he does the announcing for the NHL 22 World Championships, I believe. So, he's very very high up in the hockey esports world, we'll say.
Well, it's still pretty cool nonetheless. But so everyone, Dark Side of 95 and the King of 94, October 15th, Toronto, Ontario. Pack your fucking bags and get your puck out and slapstick it around. It's gonna be a blast.
Yeah. I can't say enough of what these, and especially when you get in that kind of environment too. And again, and now going back to Segathon again, but when you have that many people in a room and they're sitting around and they're watching you play, and then if you're on the big screen and people are cheering, and there's just nothing. There's nothing like it. It's so cool to be a part of, and just to experience. I remember the one that I had in Vancouver, which I think was the third King of '94. We had it in a place called Canadian Brew House, which is a popular sports-themed bar in the Western provinces. And the finals was absolutely insane. The whole place was just kind of rocking there, and people were chanting, and everybody wanted. His name was he went by Federline was his nickname or whatever, gamer tag, and the whole place was chanting it because they wanted him to win the game. I was like, is this really happening for a '94 game? But it was pretty cool. I mean, it just got so loud in there, and that's another thing when playing at these. Sometimes it can get pretty loud because then guys start cheering. And they want somebody to win, and if they're watching the big screen, then they start hooting and hollering, and you're trying to play too, and you're trying to focus and kind of block out the noise. So it's not just being good at the game; it's also knowing how to kind of zone in and tune out everything else. That's part of the challenge too, which makes it fun. I mean, I loved it because some of the intense games, and I know with the '94 one. We changed up the format too because we have a lot more people, or we have a lot of people coming, and a lot of the guys have told me before, the ones that aren't as skilled have said, you know what, we don't mind paying more money. We just want to play more games and have it be more meaningful. So we divided up the '94 side of it so that after the round robin, it's an upper tier, mid tier, and lower tier. So if you win 4 games, you play the king. If you win the 2 or 3, you play in the Duke, and the last one we're calling the Puke. The Puke at '94. It's going to have Valerie
Zelapukin.
Zelapukin on the trophy. So we just shortened it to Puke '94 as kind of a joke. But Comical Font said that they'd be happy to be the Puke of '94. So.
Well, for '95, we are not going to have that luxury because we're not going to have enough players. We only got, I think, 8 right now.
Yeah, something like that. And then there's 7 or 8 in Sega, and I think 4 or 5 in Super Nintendo. But like anything, most people we're actually ahead of where we were in 2019 when I had it in terms of registrations. So that's why I think we'll have more people than we will in 2019. And most people, they don't figure it out until usually the last 2 or 3 weeks before. So I don't expect, there's a lull right now in terms of signups, which I knew would happen. But we have to announce it early to allow people to travel because most people need to take time off and that. So the sooner that we can get the date out and get it fixed, that's what we did. So there'll be more that will register, and we'll get more people signing up for '94 and '95. When it comes down to it. So, and I mean, there'll be cash prizes. So I mean, whoever wins, they're going to win themselves a few $100 in the '95 side. So
for you Americans, it's not going to come out much. It's like Monopoly money. So
it's not that bad. I mean, but yeah, the transfer right now is probably about 80 cents on the dollar. I think is where we're at right now, somewhere around there. So, but I mean, it's cheaper to register. Everything is cheaper to pay for. But yeah, you're right. For an American one, they wouldn't win as much. But
it's the experience.
Yeah, well, I tell anybody, it's like, don't come because you want to get rich. Like the guy who wins probably will cover his costs for the weekend, but that's it. I mean, nobody else is going to cover there. I mean, unless you live in Toronto, I suppose. But but like people that are flying and whatnot, I just said like you're not going to cover your costs. So if you're driving, you win it, you'll definitely make some money off it. But I said it's really just like I know I'm not going to win, and I love
Maybe the
organizing.
SNES one. Maybe the SNES one.
No, not even close. There's one guy who's won. He's never lost. Mikhail has never lost a tournament that he's played in. He won the first one. He won the fourth one. He won the fifth one, and then he won our online Sochel tournament, our charity tournament for Mary Lemieux Foundation, which had what did that have? There's tons of people in that one too. But so yeah, I'd say I try and say don't come for that. That's why I tried to pick a weekend that had other things going on. So the Leafs play on Thursday and they play on Monday, and they also play on Saturday. But I mean, if you wouldn't be able to make that game, but so I mean, you could come in and watch Ovechkin on the Thursday, or you could sit around and watch the Coyotes on Monday if you wanted. But and then there's lots of junior hockey. That's if you like NCAA hockey, it's kind of the same caliber of hockey, and it's fun to watch. There's probably 3 or 4 teams that are all within
Half hour.
20, 30 minute drive from where the venue is. So, and I think the Mississauga Ice, they're called the Steelheads now.
Yeah, Steelheads.
There's a game that they're playing, which I think is like 20 minutes from the venue drive, and they're playing on the Sunday.
Yeah, that's about 7 minutes from me.
And I think they've got two NHL draft picks in their lineup.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
They do.
So I can't remember. Yeah. So I mean, it's good hockey. So, and obviously there's the Hockey Hall of Fame, which if you've never been into that is definitely worth a trip along.
It is.
I could spend the whole day there and not get ever tired of it. And obviously CN Tower, and there's lots. I mean, it's Toronto. There's tons of things.
It's a hodgepodge. It's a melting pot.
So I always just try and say, when you're coming, plan it as a trip, and plan to stay for 2 or 3 days, whatever. If you're making a long trip, that is, if you can afford it, obviously too. But so
yeah.
Anyways, it's a ton of fun. I just can't say enough good things about it.
It's all good. So that will conclude our podcast, or whatever you want to call it these days.
Did we break a record?
Yeah, it's an hour and 52 minutes and 11 seconds.
You're probably like at the hour mark saying, "Oh gosh."
And I said 45 minutes. Fuck. That lasted only for G-Locks one, and then now we're like way overzealous here. And I'm at 19% left on my phone.
Well, I'm sure somebody will beat it. If you interview Segathon.
The Segathon and I, we could probably talk for like 5 hours.
2 hours plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. All right,
Cool,
guys.
buddy.
So thanks for Daryl in Halifax coming on to the show. And play your games. Have a great season, and we'll see you in October.